Welcome to the Whurthy Events training video series. This is Module 2, the Service Provider's Experience. In this first video, we're going to walk through Whurthy settings. We'll start by looking at general settings, then we'll review the automated loyalty program settings, and we'll close by reviewing the tax settings. When you want to find the Whurthy settings link, the first thing to bear in mind is that you need to be logged in with an account that has the super user security privileges. So long as your account is a super user account, then you can look to the right-hand side, the Whurthy links sidebar, and you can scroll down, and in the administration section toward the bottom, you should then see the link for Whurthy settings. So I'm going to click on the Whurthy settings link, and now this takes me to the settings page. So there are 4 sections in the settings page. The first one is for general settings, which just shows, settings regards to general setup. Then there's a section for automated loyalty program settings. When we turn that on, then we can set the thresholds for the member tier and the VIP tier. And then we have the setting for tax. So if we select yes, we can have tax scope by venue or global. And then finally, we have the product section, which really just shows us information that is hard-coded into our environment. So if you have Whurthy Events, for example, but you don't have marketing turned on, obviously you would just see Whurthy Events here, and you would then see the host limit, or remember, this label may change. So if you have the number of presenters or hosts or whatnot, whatever label you have determined, that's the label we'll have. This environment has hosts as the label. So we can see that we've currently got 2 hosts set up in this environment out of the limit of 3, obviously 66.7%. If we have marketing turned on, you'll then also see the mailing list limit row and the monthly email send limit. So in this particular environment, we have 2,500 mailing list entries that we can have. Now that can be increased. And if you do need to, if you have a particular number here and you're seeing the percentages quite high, then you can reach out to the Whurthy team and let us know. And we've also got the monthly email send limit, which basically is just tracking how many emails have been sent through the Whurthy marketing tool over the past 30 days. And so we can see here that we've got a cap of 50,000, but we've sent no emails over the last 30 days in this environment, which isn't a surprise because it's a demo environment and we really use it for testing. And so down here at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, I've got the Edit Settings button. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Edit Settings. And so now we're inside the settings form. So the first section here, we get to see we've got company signature. This just allows you to put in the company name, the tagline that you want to use in emails when Whurthy sends those emails out to your customer. The next field here we can see we've got is called multiple rooms. It's a yes/no field. And so the description reads, does this organization have multiple rooms for events? Selecting no will cause Whurthy to use the single location address. So I just selected no, and this field here displays. So for the most part, we expect that organizations would select yes, because what that will mean is that when you create an event, you then would select a room. If you have multiple rooms set to no, then you wouldn't need to select a room when creating an event. Now, of course, if you do have multiple locations, multiple rooms, or multiple venues when you're delivering your events, then you are going to want to select yes. We would also recommend that you select yes if you ever expect to expand. Even if you only have 1 venue, room, location at this time, but you expect to expand, then we'd recommend leave this as yes, and then obviously, if you only have the 1 room, it's just going to default to that room, okay? But that will make it easier for you to expand in the future and add additional rooms. And there's really no limit to the number of rooms or locations that you have. And so from there, moving down to display seating for customers is the next field. This again is a no yes selection. And it reads, do you wish to display available event seating to customers? Selecting yes will display seat availability to customers. Selecting no will hide seating availability. And this will not have any impact on waiting list calculation. So basically what that means is that while staff will always see the number of seats remaining, by selecting yes here, this will allow your customers to also see the seats remaining. Now, there are valid reasons where some organizations are going to want to show the number of seats remaining, and there are reasons why you might not want to. And so this field is just designed to give you that choice. The next field, display full events, is no, yes. So by default, we typically set this up to be no. And the field description reads, do you want to display events that are full and do not have a wait list? If you select yes, then full events will be displayed to both customers and staff. If you select no, then full events will be hidden. So the main idea here is that if you select yes, that may be an opportunity for you to convey a sense of how busy you are, for example. But for the most part, we would leave this set as no. But again, this is a choice that you can make and you can change at any time. And the next field is allow refunds after attendance. This is a no yes field again. And the description reads, do you wish to allow refunds after an event booking has been marked as attended? In short, selecting yes allows for a refund to be processed through Whurthy on an already completed and attended event. Selecting no will mean that any refunding will have to be processed through the more complicated admin panel. But basically, just remember, though, that Whurthy in this particular implementation doesn't actually do the payment itself. So the expectation is that if you want to process a payment, the actual money, the transferring of money would be done through your point of sale system, whether through a credit card or through Square or maybe through an online vehicle. And we've deliberately kept those separated at this point. And so really what this is speaking to is the revenue that is registered in Whurthy against those events, which just allows you to immediately see, what event attendance and revenue is. So for the most part, we would recommend leaving this as no, because the expectation is that if someone has attended an event, then you wouldn't refund them their money. So, but we allow the option because there may be some situations or some organizations for which this actually is something that you do allow for. And the final field in this section is approval workflow. Again, this is a no yes field. Do you want to activate approval workflows? If you select yes, then an approval task will be assigned to workflows. For example, with this setting set to yes, then when the cancel booking workflow is triggered, the cancellation approver will be tasked to approve the request before a cancellation action is assigned to the cancellation coordinator for action. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time explaining this further because there will be videos that when they are focused on a particular feature, for example, such as the cancel for location video, that will be explained in much greater detail. But this just lets you know whenever there is a workflow that does have approval, then this is where you can find the field to make that change. Our expectation is if you are a really small organization, maybe it's just the owners, you're self-employed, and you are the only person, or it's just a couple of people in the organization that are providing events, and that anyone who cancels an event just really has the authority to do so, then you would leave this as a no. But the moment you're a larger organization, for those organizations that are larger, then it starts to become more likely that you'll have more people who have access to, say, for example, the cancel booking workflow. And with that in mind, that will then allow you to put a control in place so that not everyone can make those changes. It has to go through someone who has the authority to approve that request. In the next section, this is quite straightforward. We've got the edit loyalty program settings. This is a no yes field. The description reads, do you want to activate the automated loyalty program for customers? If you select yes, then additional options will appear, allowing you to set the thresholds at which customers are elevated to the next loyalty tier. So we can see here we've got the member loyalty threshold, we've got the VIP loyalty threshold, and then selecting no will turn off the automated elevation of the customer's loyalty tier. Okay, so that being said, the next section, or the next two sentences are quite important here. However, Whurthy will continue to track the number of paid bookings through their loyalty counter. The loyalty tier for customers can always be manually changed through their profile by those with accounts that have the super user or business admin permissions. In addition, Whurthy will continue to add customers to the member and VIP mailing list for those customers that also have the Whurthy marketing option activated. So basically, regardless of whether or not you've got this set of yes or no, you will, when we look at the loyalty When we look at the customer profile page, and I think this is already referenced in a previous video, you see the buttons to change the profile to guest, member, and VIP. So you can always override this, but what this allows you to do, in effect, when you turn this on, is to have a counter of the number of paid events that the customer attends, and then once they hit, in this case, 10 paid events that they've attended, their account will be elevated from the guest level to member, and then in this case, once they've hit 50 events, it'll be elevated to VIP. And on their profile, it will show them where they're currently at. It will show them you're currently a guest and you've got 9 more bookings until your account is given the member loyalty status. And so this is not a completely unique idea. There are many organizations that offer loyalty programs. This is just automating that for you. So by turning this off, though, that's not going to affect the fact that Whurthy will continue to track a counter behind the scenes. And there are 2 advantages for this. The first is that you may start off with this turned off and then want to turn it on. And then that will mean if you turn it on, Whurthy will be able to account for the number of bookings that have been attended and paid for. And then, you know, without missing a stride, then your customers their accounts will be automatically elevated. Also, you may have started off with an environment where marketing was turned off. And then down the line, you may have decided, oh, actually, we'd really like to do that. And again, without missing a beat, by activating the marketing solution, the member and VIP mailing lists that are embedded, and we'll be looking at this in more detail in the Whurthy marketing video, but those mailing lists would be up to date, they would be current. So we keep it running behind the scenes. We keep the engine running, as it were. So if you need to get in and actually do something with it, you can. And then finally, we've got the edit tax settings section. So this is a no, yes field. Do you wish to explicitly add tax to events? Selecting no will mean that tax is not calculated or shown for event amounts. And that may be relevant, for example, if you're using Whurthy Events, but in your particular jurisdiction, you don't need to charge tax because your yearly revenue is below that minimum threshold for taxing your customers, for example. Selecting yes will allow you to explicitly set tax labels and amounts to be applied to events. By default, the Whurthy team will set this setting to yes, unless you indicate otherwise as a part of your setup. On the field to the right here, tax scope, we've got by global and by venue. Do you wish to set a single tax structure for all events or to set a tax structure for each room or location? Selecting by venue will require you to enter at least 1 tax label and amount for each room. Taxation by venue allows for the greatest flexibility with a relatively insignificant effort. So if I go ahead and select global here, it now exposes these tax labels. And when I set up the rooms or the locations, I won't have to be concerned with this. So this will make sense. It would be recommended that you have global as the tax scope setting if you, for example, are always within a particular tax jurisdiction. So, you know, currently, if we would consider this environment is set up in Canada in a particular province, say the province of Alberta, then we would only have the GST as the tax label, and we would put in 5% as the amount. And then if we were another province, we might have GST and then provincial sales tax, PST. Or you may have the federal tax and state tax, or whatever your particular jurisdiction has by way of taxation for events. If you know, or you do not expect to ever expand beyond 1 tax jurisdiction, this allows you to do that here. However, we would offer caution for that. Again, much like the multiple rooms, the single room setting, the challenge is if you set global here, that means you're going to create locations where the tax hasn't been set up. So if you ever make those changes, you have to go and make the changes to all of the locations too. So the general recommendation is that if you know you're never going to expand, and never go beyond 1 jurisdiction, or have more than one venue type. And so, for example, if you expect to have a physical location and a virtual location, say Zoom meetings, we'd recommend that you do by venue, because that would allow you then to have control of setting up taxation for a physical event and then having a different taxation for a virtual event or no taxation. So the tax scope by venue will give you the greatest amount of flexibility. And we think that 80–90% of the time, that's going to be the preferred solution. And so that concludes the review of the Whurthy settings feature. Whurthy, Value made easy.